name's Jamie from All Movies Fresh. So today we're joined by Andie Ju, who stars in Beef. How are you doing today, Andy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. So you played Esther in the big hit Beef. How have you been dealing with the success since its release?
Oh man, I've been, as soon as it came out and after the premiere, I actually came over to New York to just hang out for a month. And so I feel like I've kind of separated myself from the success of it. But yeah, I've just been taking it in and like, being really happy and excited to be a part of this
It's
project.
been a massive success. You know, when you rewatch the show back, was it like, did it still blow you away, even though you were starring in it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I got the scripts for the episodes that I was in.
Okay.
And then, someone on set gave me some more so I could like, because I was like, oh my God, the show is so good. I want to like read all the scripts. But I didn't get the scripts for the last two episodes or
Okay.
two, three episodes. So the script, I got up until like the house burning down, and then that was it. And I couldn't get my hands on any other scripts. And so I was like, what is going to happen? And I was like, oh my God. So I was just like waiting like everybody else because I was like, I need to know what happens. And as I was watching the show, even though I knew all the elements and even though I knew all the characters and everyone involved, watching it was so great. And even though I had read some of the scripts, it felt like I hadn't read the scripts at all, just because the acting is so good, the way that they piece everything together with the music and it was just so great to watch. And at like I was so sure too that for episode 8 when the house burned down, sorry, spoilers, um, that it was Ali Wong's character that had done it. I was like, oh my God, Amy went too far.
Yeah, I know. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
We were all shocked because it literally from the start, the show
yeah,
on a high, and then obviously with the car chase, and then from then it was just like it was like a roller coaster. Your emotions were running all different high, and then it settled down, then it
yeah.
went back up, and then with the house burning down. Yeah, I thought the same, and then there was in two frames of mind of which two characters it could be. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, the creator of the show, Lee Sung Jin, he actually said that it's a limited anthology as well, but
Yeah.
left the door slightly open for a potential season two. If you turned to you and gave you the decision and said, what ideas would you do for an ideal storyline? What would you say?
Oh man, that is so, I'm gonna steal from Young a little bit because I think I heard him say that it would be interesting to see Paul in season 2 and his beef with his brother because, that what Danny does to Paul is really messed up. And so that would have been really interesting to see. And I think it's also something that's very accurate and real between siblings too, um, and how nasty we can be to each other. Yeah.
I like that concept
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. There's so many ways because obviously it's sort of a limited series. You can't
Mhm.
oh how can I make a season two from this? But you like you said there was other characters who had beef like the brothers as well.
Yeah.
Um, in the entertainment industry, we've seen changes to everything, such as like gender, ethnicity. But what changes would you say the changes have helped you in a way as an actress?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think especially from going from back in the day, back to like 626 night market at the time, the types of roles that you would get weren't, they weren't full characters, and then additionally it was like your character was just a jump off point for someone else's character, and the story ultimately wasn't necessarily about like, wasn't very representative of like my reality, and I'm sure a lot of different people's realities. So I feel like we've just come to a very different place, where I feel like a couple years back a show like Beef probably wouldn't have been greenlit or have gotten as much publicity or you know
Yeah.
and so I'm really happy that we're in a place now where we can have these stories and have and studios and all these other productions and stuff can see that it is bankable to have stories based off of like diverse communities.
Well, there
Yeah.
is. I mean, there is a lot of series out there, and also movies that hadn't been greenlighted because of the way they were and things like that. I mean, I was reading about Squid Games as well, and they were saying that it took so many years for it to get approved, and how the success it was. It just literally took over the world.
Yeah.
Um, but now, like you said, the changes that have occurred in the entertainment industry is enabling you guys to sort of step in and represent as well.
Yeah.
As an actress, how would you describe yourself in 5 words?
As an actress, I would say curious. Um, I think curious, hungry, um, learning, and I think, oh gosh, two more words. Hardworking, not to toot my own horn, but and and human.
Good, good. I like
Yeah.
that word. I think it's describing you as like you are dedicated to what you want to achieve, and you're settling for what you've got, basically. So,
Yeah.
I like that. As an
Yeah.
actress, do you have a routine?
Yeah, I thought I did, and then as I've just been going through like different classes and such, I feel like I'm starting to hone in on like because there's so much information that you get from different acting studios, different, you go on set and you talk to other people about what their process is, and you're like, oh, I want to try that. That sounds cool. So I feel like my process right now, I think ultimately what it really comes down to is that you have to understand this person and make them as real as possible. For me, what I like to do is I like to, have their whole history. For Esther, like, the script didn't have much on her backstory, but I felt like I knew her because I had gone to church when I was younger, and I was like, I know this person. So I really went. So for me, for research for Esther was really just, okay, this is what I know happens in the story. What else has happened, and how do I fill that in? What am I, what do I want? What is something that, she comes off as someone who's very perfect, and, someone who on paper seems like a very full and rounded and, comfortable, happy person. But, there is so much more going on behind the scenes of what is it that she wants? Where is she in her life right now? What are her relationships? And so just filling in that as much as possible and trying to throw it away, which is so hard.
I think it takes a lot to be able to sort of say that you know the character,
Yeah.
and you did a fantastic job of it. And if you have that understanding of it, you can go in there, and it's like a walk in the park for yourself, pretty much. Um, have you ever been told something as an actress, or even in the show, that you to change something about yourself on there because either you're not doing it right or to help you improve?
I think it would be just to like throw it away because I feel like I do so much like homework and so much work of, okay, like these, like, I'll really look at a scene and say, okay, these are the beats, this is the scene, this is where it's going. And I feel like if you do the homework, that just shows, you're dedicated and you care about your craft, but also that you have to be open to play and be open to doing different things in the moment. So really just being present, which is hard sometimes because I'm always in my head of like, okay, this is what's happening. And, so just trying to let things go and be in the moment and trust that all the work that you've done is there
Good.
is, yeah.
Like you said, that's what separates you from other actresses and actors as well. Doing your homework, attending the classes, just so
Yeah.
you're improving yourself. And like when you're describing yourself as an actress, it's the constant improvement that you want to achieve, and aim higher. Um, have you ever faced a setback in your career, or didn't get an audition that you wanted to get? And if so, how did you gain that motivation back again?
Yeah, there's a lot of wallowing that happens for like a little bit. And then, what ends up happening for me is that, if there was a role that I really wanted, or usually what I find is, so, sometimes the role just isn't for me. No matter how much I want it to be, and no matter how much I want to jump into that and explore it, it's not for me. And then there are other times where I feel like because I tried so hard and like really was like, okay, I'm gonna do all the homework, I'm gonna do everything. And then, you get in the room and you're real stiff. And so um, trying to learn from my mistakes, trying to be present, because ultimately it's not about the lines or whatever, it's about you as a person and how you react to certain things that's happening to you. But it always motivates me to just because I want to be better. I want to be really good, and the only way you can do that is to continue to work. So for me, what happens is I'll wallow and I'll be sad for a little bit, and then there's that drive again to be like, okay, so what do I need to do to be better? And that's just the answer is always to just keep working.
Good. Do you still get nervous on when you're on set or when you're auditioning?
Yeah, when you asked me the question for like the 5 things to describe you as an actor, one of the words that came up was like nervous. But I was like I gotta play it cool. I can't out myself in that way. But I do get nervous. When I found out that I was gonna be on the set, I was like, okay, like just be cool, don't be weird. But I do get nervous like everybody else.
I mean, you're starring with big actors and actresses as well. Who have starred in many things, Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But how do you sort of like, as opposed to getting overwhelmed by it and like
Mhm.
fangirling or fanboying over
Yeah.
things like that, how do you sort of control yourself?
Oh, I mean, I try to just breathe,
Yeah.
and to be present because I feel like sometimes what happens is I'll like shrink into my head. I know that sounds weird, but I'll like shrink into like my brain and just kind of observe things happening. Um, but I try to breathe, and then ultimately the thing is that even though you do try, something's gonna happen. You're gonna flub a line or you're gonna trip on something, and I think that's actually helpful because, okay, you do it and then you learn from it, or you like will be embarrassed for however long and then you'll get over it. And then it'll happen again and it'll be less embarrassing. And then you just have to keep going through it and keep trying.
Would you say there's more, when you're acting with big stars and stuff, with this, do you feel like yourself is more under pressure? Because if you mess up your lines or something, I know they do it as well,
Yeah.
but everyone does it. It's natural. But as an upcoming actor, do you find yourself under much more pressure than they do, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their experience is like, but I do feel that when I am working, like when I was working with scenes with Steven, I was like, okay, yeah, I don't want to look like an amateur in front of Steven Yeun. And so definitely felt a lot of pressure to get it right. And so again, just like that note of throwing it away is just so much harder to do because you're like, but I want it to be so perfect. So again, yeah, I think it's just like going through because I'm sure at some point they were also equally as nervous and they've just gone through so many times where they're like, all right, it's no big deal
Are
now.
there any
So
like funny or interesting stories that you've had whilst working on set?
yeah, well, I when I first found out, so I auditioned for this in like early 2022, January, with CLCK Casting, which are so great and amazing, and I love them. And I found out that I had booked the job sometime, I think in like April or March or end of February. It's a long range, but I found out later on that I had booked the job. But I had landed in Mexico City because I was shooting a shoe commercial at the time. And so I had literally landed and I was waiting in baggage claim for my stuff to come out. And I got the call from my agent saying, you got the part. And like I was so over the moon and I was so excited and so happy. It was like really like a dream come true. And and then immediately afterwards I was like, oh my God, I've landed in this country to like do this shoot, and COVID is very, very much like a real thing. And I was like, I'm not gonna get COVID. I'm not gonna mess up my chances to make it onto set because if I had gotten COVID, they're not gonna stop production for me. So they would probably have like recasted me. So that set, I remember before I found out the news, I was like, I'm gonna go around all these coffee shops and then like enjoy and like and hang out and stuff. And afterwards, I was like that one person who was like, no, I'm not going out. I'm gonna be in my hotel room. Just gonna, yeah, I was so careful.
Good. I mean,
But I made it.
yeah, well, you did a fantastic, and that's why I'm interviewing you today as well. Because it could have
Thanks.
been someone else, but it's you.
I know.
I think that's what you're going to be grateful for. Us. Would you say streaming sites have had a positive or negative impact on the entertainment industry?
Well, I mean, I think I think I think it's had a positive impact, sorry, in regards to streaming having like a lot of content out there. And I think for a little bit, that's when the golden age of television really took off because streaming sites were like, yes, there are these stories and we have the capacity to be able to, people want to see these stories and they want it all on one thing. So we'll be able to provide. And, you know, I think that was really great. But, you know, given that with the writer strike happening, that it wasn't great for everybody. And so I think that with the strike happening now and hopefully negotiations will help, like, you know, work out in their favor. I think hopefully it'll be more beneficial to a larger group of everyone in the industry. And I do think that having that much content out there meant that they, you know, streaming sites were more willing to be like, yes to certain projects like Beef or other projects where they might have not said yes before.
True. I mean, we were speaking to one actor as well, and he was discussing about the writer's strike as well. I think it's a common thing we're seeing around the world at the moment, and it's a pay factor as well. And I think it's something that needs to be outlined and sorted because it will just continue for many years to come, which is
Yeah,
just unfortunate, to be honest. And at one step they're going forwards, but then the other step they're going backwards.
yeah, yeah. I'm happy that they're able to have this, you know, I mean, obviously work has slowed down, there aren't as many projects being greenlit, but I do think it's something that is important because writers are the ones that are writing these stories. If it wasn't for Lee Jin, then we wouldn't have Beef, and you know, they should be fairly compensated, and you know, I think that they should be, they're worth so much because without them these stories wouldn't exist.
That's true. That's true. Outside of acting, is there any like things that you're passionate about doing, like any hobbies or anything?
Yeah, I box once a week, or like a couple times a week. I've been doing it since like for the last on and off. I don't want to make myself sound like I'm some cool hot shot, but I have been boxing for the last like 7 years or so with my trainer, and so that's something that I really like to do because it if I've had a bad week or a bad day, you really get to like let it out. And it's really nice because you just get to turn your brain off because my trainer will just like yell at me to do whatever I need to do. And I'm like, okay, you know, and so it's a lot, been a lot of fun.
That's good. I think it's good to have some downtime and take your mind off it as well because mentally you need to keep at a sort of stable level as well. And
Yeah.
you deal with a lot. Rejection is the biggest thing in life. I
Oh
think
man.
go through.
Yeah.
We see a lot of movies and series that are filmed that take their locations to different places. If you were to
Yeah.
star in a show or a movie that was to go to a different location, where would you pick around the world?
That's so tough. I feel like I would really want to go somewhere like in Europe, I think is where I'm being called to right now. But honestly, I'm such a big fan of travel and South America also sounds equally amazing. And I think probably somewhere in Europe. I'm like a big, not a huge history buff, but I do love looking at all the like even just being in New York, it's so different than LA. There's a lot of history in the buildings that you can see, and I really appreciate all the different types of buildings. And so I just feel like in Europe, I would be like, yeah, anytime I had off, I would spend just roaming around and getting to see the city.
Yeah, there is a lot to explore in New York, and it's a big city as well. Like you said, there's so much history to it as well. Um,
Yeah.
is it outside of your typical American shows and stuff? Is there anything that you watch around the world that you would like to star in?
Yeah, I mean, I would really love to work with like a Korean filmmaker. I think that that would be amazing. Obviously, Bong Joon-ho is on the top of the list, but yeah, I feel like I would really like to work with, you know, Korean filmmakers, and also I would really love to work with like Iñárritu. Like I saw Beautiful with Javier Bardem, and I thought that that was such an amazing, beautiful story. And there are just so many different types of filmmakers out there where they're really making the project. Not to say that that doesn't happen in America, but they're really making the project with a lot of heart, and there's a lot they want to say and given the story that they're telling, you know, different ways that they'll be able to tell it. And I would just really like to be a part of that, you know. There are a lot of like blockbuster movies out there that I would love to be a part of. Don't get me wrong. Like being able to be Tao Jones, even for like 2 seconds, was so amazing because you get to just explore that world and that character, and that would be amazing. But I also do think it would be really great to like focus in on, quiet stories that tell a certain sliver of life. That would be a lot of fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Like you said, with the awards and stuff like that, they're becoming more diversified. So it doesn't just limit us to seeing, like us, we see our typical British shows or our typical American shows. I mean, I've become more sort of open in watching a lot of stuff. I'm into like,
Yeah.
dramas and a lot of European dramas and stuff, and they're so enticing. And I think what
Yeah.
they're not they're very back, they're very old and stuff, but then in reality they're very modern, uh,
Mm.
and they're just as good, even if not better than your typical shows and stuff that you see. And that's good that they're being recognised as well, which is a brilliant thing for the worldwide audience.
Absolutely.
Is there any like can you tell us about your future plans or any dreams that you've got or any upcoming projects?
I can't really go into any of projects. Once I can, like that was the one thing my manager was like, you cannot say this. I was like, okay. So I can't really say anything, but once I can share it, I'll be so happy to tell everyone. But I mean, in regards to like dreams, I think just continuing, like for me, I just want to work and I just want to be a good actor. Like the thing that I've realized as I've been going onto some sets is like even if you get to a set where you're so happy to be a part of it, if you feel, for me personally, if I don't feel like I'm doing a good job, if I don't feel like I'm at that level or I'm contributing in a positive way to the project, then it's a nightmare because then you just go on to set every day where you feel like you're weighing everybody down. So for me, I just want to be on sets and feel like I'm contributing and being a good actor and listening and just being an addition to the project and not really taking away from it. But like I said, I would love to work on a project with Bong Joon-ho. There's so many like directors and different types of shows and television and movies that I want to be a part of. I'm just really happy to be where I'm at, especially given like where I know I started from. At the time, I was like, I know beggars can't be choosers, so I'm gonna just do whatever I can to work and better myself. So
Good.
kind of a boring answer.
It's good. I think what it is. What I've learned is from interviewing yourself, you're quite open-minded. You don't just want to settle for one particular genre or one
Yeah,
particular show. You want to do everything and anything, and I think that's what keeps you, being so versatile.
yeah,
Uh, you get an understanding of everything, not just one particular thing on there.
yeah.
Um, if there's any, for upcoming actors and actresses on there, what advice would you give them? What are the reality of acting?
It's really hard. I feel like, people don't really talk about, especially nowadays with everyone having access to being an actor, which is great. And, with there's so many different avenues that you can take into it. I feel like people don't realize it's tough. It's not just memorizing some words on a page and there's so many, like I didn't realize how many internal things I had to go through to like get over to be able to be on set and be a good actor. And sometimes there are days where I still feel like, all right, yeah, you're a little nervous, but it's okay. And I just think that if you really love it, just keep doing it. Be in class, like do what you can to make yourself better because it's when you get there and when you're there, it's great, but you're just gonna have to do so much work to get there. But it'll be worth it, if it's something that you really love to do.
Good. I couldn't say a better answer than myself. And I'm not an actor. I'm not an actress.
I don't know, the questions and the way you talk about it, I was like, is he an actor?
No, no, no. I'm not even close to it.
Yeah,
But I think it's just you expressing yourself, you wanting
yeah.
to showcase everything you have, and also giving the advice as well. I think people can take a lot from it,
Mhm.
and everyone comes up from that path on there. And everyone thinks that acting is easy, but it's not. It's a lot
No.
of dedication, and everyone's
Yeah.
quick to criticize as well. But they don't know. the hard work and grind it takes in. And like you said, you started in beef, and now it's just onwards and upwards, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I feel like you are an actor. You should be, because the way you're talking about it, you really know what's up.
I think it's just obviously my developing passion for movies and films and stuff, and it's taking it to the next level. And aside from writing reviews, it's also interviewing cast members just to give you guys a voice as well. How big or small everyone is. Like you said, we've got everyone starts somewhere, and yeah, just give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, thanks for including me.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much for joining us today, Andy, as well. And I hope you have a great rest of the day as well.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.